Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Township of West Orange annual Memorial Day observance ceremony. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today as we honor those who have died for our country. Kindly take a moment to silence your electronic devices as a courtesy to our performers. I am Major Joseph Marcassini, Program Director of the Air Force Junior ROTC program at West Orange High School. Please rise for the presentation and posting of the colors, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, National Anthem, and Invocation. As a reminder, civilians should remove their hats and place their hand over their heart during the Pledge and Anthem. Those in uniform should salute during the Pledge and Anthem. The colors are presented today by our West Orange High School Air Force Junior ROTC Cadet Color Guard. Color Guard, post the colors. I now invite our VFW Post 376 Commander and Vietnam veteran, Mr. Kim Amelie, to the podium to lead us through the Pledge of Allegiance.
Present horns. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order, horns.
Thank you, sir. Stand by, Color Guard. National Anthem. I am now pleased to invite Ms. Paige Pallant to the podium to sing our National Anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, those bombs bursting in air, gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does last Star-Spangled Banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the
Right, turn, forward, park.
Thank you, Ms. Pallant, and thank you, ROTC Color Guard. Please remain standing now for our invocation, and it is my pleasure to invite Rabbi Kasowitz up to deliver today's invocation.
We gather today to honor and memorialize the military personnel who died in the performance of their military duties while serving in the United States Armed Forces. We pay tribute to the ultimate sacrifices they made. Mayor McCartney, council members, clergy members, colleagues, our dedicated police officers and firefighters, and local and state officials and friends. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to lead this invocation in the presence of such brave people who risk their lives for the sake of others. It's an honor. Growing up, whenever my grandfather, Sherman Kasowitz, would come from New Haven, where he was born and raised, to visit us in Des Moines, Iowa, and later in Minnesota, we would beg him to share his Army stories. He wouldn't voluntarily share them, but eventually we always got a good one out of him. He would regale us with tales of heroism and bravery of fighting the Nazis, Yimach Shemam, and liberating fellow Jews from the death camps. I will always cherish those memories, and especially think of him today on this Memorial Day. It's so beautiful to see everyone here, families and friends, and together, let us thank the families of our police officers and firefighters, the wives and the children and the parents, and the husbands who give up many of their personal pleasures so that they can serve and protect. They know that when their loved one goes to work each day, they may be placed in harm's way. These heroes' families live their lives with bravery and distinction and deserve a medal of their own. Let's give them a round of applause. Also, let us take a moment to remember our heroes, all the servicemen and women who are no longer with us, who courageously put their lives on the line for the sake of their fellow human beings. May their memory be for an everlasting blessing. In addition to remembering these brave men and women whom we are eternally indebted, we seek a means of ensuring that the values for which they sacrificed their lives are protected and upheld so that they will not have died in vain. Our great nation, the United States of America, was founded upon the staunch belief that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our pledge states, we are one nation under God. Part and parcel of the liberties which make America so great is the recognition that there is a Creator of all existence. It is by remembering our duties to our Creator that a nation preserves its morality. It is by living with faith in a higher authority that we ensure that we as humans are living by pristine values and unbroken integrity. Almighty God, Creator of all mankind, Sustainer of all life, we ask that your blessings descend upon us as we gather here today. We thank you for this opportunity to once again in freedom assemble to honor the fallen heroes of our nation's armed forces. May we never forget those who made the supreme sacrifice to secure for our nation the blessings of life, liberty, and justice for all. May our observance be a timely reminder that our freedom was purchased at a high cost and should not be taken for granted. Bless the families and friends of those we honor today, and bless the veterans who have come with memories, stories, and tears to enrich this day. May we find the strength we need to remain true to living with faith in you, Almighty God, thus ensuring that the values of truth and morality remain forever strong, withstanding any winds of negative influence. And may the words of Prophet Isaiah be realized. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spurs into pruning hooks. Nations will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore. May God bless us all. May God bless you and your families. And may God bless the United States of America. And let us say, Amen.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Now please join me in welcoming the Mayor of West Orange, Susan McCartney.
Thank you, Major. Thank you, Rabbi Mendy. And thank you, Paige. Beautiful rendition. Good morning, all. Good morning, all, to this glorious day. I would like to start with a thank you. When I drove by this morning at 7:30, DPW crews were out here setting this up. I've chaired a lot of events, I appreciate the time and effort that's put in on the prep and planning of our Memorial Day ceremony. I want to thank the Observance Committee and police and fire, always at the ready. We have Major Joseph Marcassini, Kim Amelie, Administrative Assistant Sherry Quirk, and Chief Master Sergeant Ricardo Thurston. Thank you all for planning this event. It is with great honor and privilege that I preside over my first Memorial Day celebration as your mayor. I am joined this morning by Council President Tammy Williams, Councilman Bill Rutherford. I see Board of Education member Linda Huerta. The significance of this day is profoundly interwoven into the fabric of our community. Over the years, we have bestowed the New Jersey Distinguished Service Medal on 365 West Orange residents and former combat veterans. It is the state's highest honor and has allowed us to become known as New Jersey's most decorated community. As we continue this proud tradition today of honoring our veterans, it is important for all of us to remember to be guardians of their legacy. Although we gather in remembrance of those who have fallen, let us also remember the way each of our veterans lived. We come this day not to mourn them, but to praise them and thank them. Our nation flag soars in the wind, carrying with it the last breath of the brave men and women who died protecting it. We know that what their sacrifice means to our community, our country, and the world. Today and every day, they are in our thoughts with the deepest measures possible of unwavering admiration, pride, and gratitude. And today, the flag of the United States is raised briskly to the top of the staff and then solemnly lowered to half-staff position, where it remains only until noon. It is then raised to full staff for the remainder of the day. The half-staff position remembers the more than 1 million men and women who gave their lives in service of our country. At noon, their memory is raised by the living who resolved not to let their sacrifice be in vain, but to rise up in the stead and continue the fight for justice for all. The National Moment of Remembrance Resolution of December 2000 asks that at 3 p.m. local time, all Americans, voluntarily and informally, observe in their own way a moment of remembrance and respect, pausing from whatever they are doing for a moment of silence. Major. Thank you so much, Major, and the ROCT cadets here today for putting on this.
Thank you, Mayor McCartney. Mayor McCartney would now like to congratulate 3 West Orange High School Air Force Junior ROTC cadets that have earned special recognition from the military services this year. Our first presentation is to Cadet Mia Gordet. Cadet Gordet is a third-year cadet in the high school's Air Force Junior ROTC program. This year, Cadet Gordet earned distinction by beating out hundreds of her third-year cadet peers in the state to be named the Air and Space Forces Association's Outstanding Cadet of the Year for the state of New Jersey. Our second presentation is to Cadet Bretner Baptiste. Cadet Baptiste is a fourth-year cadet in the high school's Air Force Junior ROTC program. Cadet Baptiste has been awarded a U.S. Army ROTC scholarship to Seton Hall University, which pays full tuition. Upon graduation, he'll be commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Army. Our final cadet presentation is to Cadet Chase Morgan. Cadet Morgan is a fourth-year cadet in the high school's Air Force Junior ROTC program. She has been offered both the U.S. Army ROTC scholarship and a civil prep school appointment. She has chosen to accept the civil prep school appointment to Georgia Military College. This is a paid scholarship to a civilian-run military school where Cadet Morgan will train and hone her skills for 1 year and then enter the United States Military Academy at West Point in the summer of 2024. Our final presentation is not to a cadet, but to an instructor. It is to Chief Master Sergeant Ricardo Thurston. Chief Thurston is retiring at the end of this school year after 7 years in his position. During his time with us, Chief Thurston has positively influenced hundreds of students, both in and outside of Junior ROTC, and dedicated thousands of hours of service to the Township of West Orange, including serving on this Memorial Day Planning Committee. Today, Mayor McCartney is presenting Chief with a flag flown over Town Hall here on May 9th of 2023 to recognize his service and dedication to the town. Thank you, Mayor McCartney. We now continue a tradition we began in 2015, recognizing young men and women from the area who are enlisting in the U.S. Armed Forces. Every enlisted service member from every branch of service must recite an oath and promise to adhere to it for his or her entire military career. It is a solemn vow in which they agree to be held to a higher standard than ordinary citizens, and to put the good of others ahead of their own desires. This is at the core of what it means to serve. Today we have one such enlistee. Junior ROTC Cadet Ketsia Jordan will enter the United States Marine and attend basic training in July, and has agreed to have her oath administered here. Cadet Jordan, please come forward. The oath can be administered by any active or retired military officer. Today we are proud to have a newly commissioned U.S. Army Second Lieutenant Colin Morgan, West Orange High School class of 2019 and West Point class of 2023 to administer her oath. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the oath of enlistment.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I bear true faith and allegiance to the same. And I will bear the orders of the President of the United States. And the orders of officers appointed over me. According to the regulations. And the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God.
Thank you. Please be seated. This morning, as is also our tradition, members of the West Orange Township Council will place wreaths at War Memorial Park in remembrance of our honored dead. The council members will be escorted by members of our Air Force Junior ROTC Corps of Cadets. Council members and cadets, please come forward. And I now invite our West Orange Township historian, Joseph Fagan, to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge Pete Longo, who is sitting in the first seat here. He was a tank commander during World War II and is the oldest West Orange resident survivor of World War II. Thank you, Pete. As is noted in today's program, Decoration Day originated during the American Civil War when flowers were placed on the graves of those who had been killed in battle. Following World War I, the name was changed to Memorial Day to honor all those who have died in our nation's wars. Although today's focus is on our fallen veterans, we also honor all the men and women who have served our country, past, present, and future. Our Memorial Day celebration today includes several notable milestones this year. It marks the 160th anniversary of the founding of what is known as West Orange today. The town began during the American Civil War. It was formed 2 years after the war began, at about the same time when Confederate General Robert E. Lee was planning a march through the Shenandoah Valley as an avenue of advance to attack the North. The historic First Township Committee meeting of West Orange occurred on April 18, 1863, just months prior to Lee's march, where he eventually met the Union Army in the small crossroad town of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. On this 160th anniversary of West Orange, one former resident holds a monumental and historical connection to both the Civil War and the lawn here in front of Town Hall. Since this July marks the 160th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg that coincides with the anniversary of West Orange founding, I would like to talk briefly about the historic significance of this place where we are gathered today. First, let me say, this year has seen measurable progress to the makeup of our municipal government since that first meeting over a century and a half ago. Former Councilwoman Susan McCartney was sworn in as West Orange's first woman mayor in January, along with Councilwoman Tammy Williams as the town's first African American council president. Mayor McCartney and Council President Williams and our other elected officials find themselves presiding over another significant anniversary directly connected with the founding of Memorial Day. When the Civil War began in 1861, today's West Orange was still part of Orange. President Abraham Lincoln called for volunteers from northern states to join the United States Army in defense of the Union. Many young men eagerly answered the call to what they saw as their patriotic duty. One of those many regiments recruited in July 1862 was the New Jersey 13th Infantry Regiment of Volunteers. I point them out because they were men from West Orange who would have most likely served. The New Jersey 13th were essentially men from New Jersey's Essex, Hudson, and Passaic counties. When they entered the war, they were assigned to the Army of the Potomac's 12th Corps in defense of Washington, D.C. They had only rudimentary military training when they were first thrown into a combat role at the Battle of Antietam on September 17, 1862. It still remains as the deadliest one-day battle in American military history. The 13th New Jersey Volunteers fought at many other battles, including Gettysburg, and were mustered out in 1865 after the war's end. Several of those soldiers who left from Orange, New Jersey, returned home to see the name of the town had been changed to West Orange while they were gone. One such resident was Samuel Toombs, who took on the role of the regiment's historian and wrote several books about the 13th New Jersey Volunteers' regimental history in the 1880s. The historical connection to this location, I want to point out, for those men of the New Jersey 13th Volunteers is significant, and I mention it for this reason. The same St. Mark's steeple we see across the street today is the same one they knew and a landmark they would be totally familiar with. Perhaps as some of these soldiers lay dying on a Civil War battlefield far from home, it is an image that was seared in their mind as they took their last breath. For those of them that survived and returned home, such as Samuel Toombs, it surely was a welcome sight. It can be said that the shadow of the St. Mark's steeple casts a long shadow upon us today, defying the known boundaries of time, allowing us to connect to the past as we honor their memory today. Around 1930, another Civil War veteran, Michael Gaffney, moved to West Orange to live with his daughter. He was born in Dublin, Ireland in 1842 and grew up in the small town of Tobyhanna, Pennsylvania. Although born in Ireland, he came to this country at such an early age that he was likely well assimilated into the American way of life. At the outbreak of the Civil War in 1861, he was only 19 years old when he answered President Lincoln's calls for volunteers in the Union Army. He enlisted in Company F of the 5th Pennsylvania Reserves, and like so many young men at that time, marched off to war unheralded by fear, with a sense of adventure and feeling of invincibility. Gaffney also fought at the Battle of Antietam, which was coincidentally under the command of another future West Orange resident, Major General George McClellan. Gaffney's unit also fought in the Battle of Gettysburg. It was there, by only a stroke of fate, that intervened when a water-filled canteen miraculously stopped a bullet and saved his life. Following the Battle of Gettysburg, the small Pennsylvania town was overwhelmed with decaying corpses from many soldiers who were quickly buried in shallowly dug graves. As the need for reburial of thousands of Union soldiers became necessary, it spawned the idea for a national cemetery. The new National Gettysburg Cemetery was subsequently dedicated in November 1863 during the war. That is where President Lincoln delivered his hastily composed 2-minute speech, which came to be known as the Gettysburg Address. It is considered by many historians as one of the greatest and monumental speeches of American history. Gaffney, who fought bravely at the battle where he nearly lost his life, was chosen to be part of Lincoln's Military Guard of Honor at the dedication ceremonies at the National Cemetery. Gaffney proudly stood as a sentinel at President Lincoln's side and heard the president recite the speech that began with the recognizable words of, "407 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal." When Gaffney was 88 years old, he moved in with his daughter Mary Connor on Llewellyn Terrace. He had lived there for 8 years before he peacefully passed away at home in 1938 at age 96. The new West Orange Town Hall that opened in June 1937, where we are today, is a location that would have been familiar to Gaffney. Several military posts participated in funeral services to honor Gaffney at a mass held at Our Lady of Lourdes Church. The mayor of West Orange at that time was Frederick Irwin, who ordered the flag to be lowered to half-staff on the original flagpole we see here today on Town Hall in Gaffney's honor. It is not known if that was the first time at the new Town Hall the flag was lowered to half-staff, but at least it could have been one of the first times ever at the newly opened West Orange Town Hall. In closing, allow me to recite a few last lines of President Lincoln's poignant Gettysburg Address, witnessed by West Orange resident Gaffney. "It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to the cause for which they gave their last full measure of devotion, that we highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that a government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth." Those words spoken by Lincoln and heard by Gaffney offer inspiration to us today as they echo forward to this place and time. For we too have the responsibility with the great task remaining before us. Let us highly resolve this Memorial Day as we continue the tradition of honoring our fallen soldiers who have not died in vain. For West Orange, on its 160th anniversary, shall also have a new birth of freedom, as this municipal body continues the mission of a government of the people, by the people, for the people, which shall not perish, but flourish on our watch to meet the challenges of today together as a community, while honoring our past and investing in our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fagan. It is now my pleasure to introduce West Orange High School student James Tabang as he sings "God Bless the USA."
Tomorrow all the things were gone I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA. There's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say, and I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. I love this land, I love this land. God bless the USA.
Thank you, James. Now, please rise for the playing of Taps by West Orange High School students Chester Coe and Andrew Strom. As a reminder, civilians should remove their hats and place their hand over their heart during taps. Those in uniform should salute. Thank you, Chester, and thank you, Andrew. Please be seated. It is now my pleasure to invite former United States Navy Petty Officer First Class Douglas Adams up to deliver today's benediction. Pastor Adams.
It's always an honor that I don't deserve to be able to speak to people who have no reason to really listen to me based upon who I am. But when I look at the young men and women who are in the ROTC, and when I look at our police and our fire, and when I look in the faces of the other veterans, and when I look at the Morgan family and their legacy, I am compelled to be here to talk about the importance of this memorial. A memorial is a moment where we build a facility, where we do something to remember an event, a situation, or a circumstance. We build monuments to memorialize individuals and to memorialize events. And today is another day, another Memorial Day that West Orange builds on its structure, on its facility to celebrate those who have served and sacrificed for the Constitution of the United States. Every military person pledges an oath. Every elected official pledges an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States. We've heard about those who, whether voluntarily or whether they were conscripted, gave service to defend our right for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. this day is a remembering of them giving up their life, their liberty, and the pursuit of happiness so that we can pursue ours. Today is a day that we remember those that we've lost, that we've known. Today I remember my shipmate, Mike Rubel. Today I remember C.J. Morgan. Today I remember my brother-in-law, Paul Lee. All who died in the service of this country so that we could have the right to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it just makes sense. It's just logical that we do that. We heard about the Civil War and other wars where we know that there were those who gave their lives in other places and even on this land for that very same Constitution, even though they may not have benefited from all of its aspects. We remember Dr. King, who advocated for our country to live up to the lofty expectations of our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence. And I'm happy to say that I live in a community, in a town, that for almost 26 years I have found that we are committed to pursuing that. I'm thankful to our school department, our Board of Education, our facilitators, our educators, who keep our children safe every day and educate young men and young women who continually find it honorable to serve their country in the armed forces. I'm glad to live in a town where our police and our fire rescue us and keep us safe on a regular basis. But today I come to petition that we build a new memorial. Today I launched my own campaign to build a memorial for those in the pursuit of their constitutional right for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness involuntarily gave their lives. Today I ask that we challenge our leaders locally, state, nationally, to build a memorial to our children who are dying in our schools every year, simply trying to pursue their constitutional right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those who would grow to become individuals who will serve in our armed forces, serve in our fire and police departments, become elected officials to lead our nation to the next generation of its own greatness. I understand that there are debates about other constitutional aspects, but it took a whole mob, a crowd, to be able to invade our nation's capital. Could we at least agree to fund our schools to be protected at that minimal level? Could we at least, as we talk about executive orders to fund our debt and to do other things, could we at least talk about an executive order to fund our school security? One person took a gun, shot out a window, and killed our children and their educators. I'm here to ask that we build a new memorial to defend the constitutional right of our children. I thank God for those who gave their lives in foreign lands to keep others from coming and taking away our children, taking away our national rights, invading our homes. But I believe today we should build a memorial for their sacrifice in every school building in the nation by the way that we invest in its protective infrastructure. There comes a point in war when we stop looking at our political perspectives. There comes a point in war where we stop looking at the color of our skin. There becomes a point in war where we stop debating over the next sports issue or debating over the next life issue or what we're having for dinner. There becomes a point in war where we protect the other person in the foxhole with us. This just seems logical. To the Democrats who are pro-choice, I say we make the choice to protect those who are on the outside of the womb. To the Republicans who are pro-life, I say we protect the lives of those who are on the outside of the womb. And for my colleagues in the community of faith, I will simply refer to the ancient writings that simply say this: if we do not take care of our own, we are less than infidels. So whether it's logical, political, or theological, for the men and women who have fought and given their lives, I submit that we honor them by protecting their children, their grandchildren, and their great-grandchildren as they exercise their constitutional right to a free and equal education. Please pray with me and for me. Father, I come before you as a broken, imperfect, and incomplete vessel. But what I have, I lend into your hands to thank you for those who sacrificed. My uncles and cousins and nephews and nieces and friends, shipmates and fellow armed service individuals, my fellow citizens and residents who have given their lives so that others could pursue their unalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And Lord, I ask that you would bless those who are serving now. Bless those families who at this time find themselves mourning and in grief over who they've lost. I pray for the families who have lost their children as they have gone to the government-mandated schools to be educated and equipped to serve their families in our national agenda. I pray for West Orange. I thank you for your covering and your hedge of protection that has guarded us from many of the tragedies that have been seen throughout our land. I thank you that we have a community so conscious of what it means to serve that their children continually sign up to surrender their rights to protect the rights of others. I thank you for the elected officials who are constantly dodging barbs, complaints, and attacks, simply seeking to serve. But I come before you today, Father, surrendering to your mandate that there are some things in our nation that must stop. And as stated in the Gettysburg Address, Lord, I pray that the lives that have been lost illegitimately, the lives that have been lost legitimately in service, would not pass in vain. And just as in my faith tradition, every death is followed by a resurrection and a new birth, I pray today that as we close this memorial celebration here in 2023, that it would be the birth of the building of a new memorial that stands in contrast to the complacency that has allowed our children to be victimized and used for public debate, for political agendas. I pray this in the name that I worship and that I personally serve. And it is that very Jesus, my Lord and my Savior. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Adams. As we conclude the ceremony and retire our colors, the Memorial Day observance team would like to thank those that helped make this ceremony possible, namely the members of the Township Council, members of the West Orange Board of Education, the Township Department of Recreation and Public Works, the West Orange Fire Department, West Orange Police Department, our buglers, singers, our videographer, our enlistee, our high school Air Force Junior ROTC cadets, Pastor Adams, Rabbi Kasowitz, and Lieutenant Morgan. Thank you all on behalf of Mayor McCartney. Please stand for the retiring of the colors. Color Guard, retire the colors.
Right. Turn. Color guard. Go. Pose. Mark time. Mark. Right. Turn. Forward. Mark.
I now invite Ms. Paige Pallant and Mr. James Tabang back to the stage to sing God Bless America. Thank you. This concludes our ceremony. On behalf of the Planning Committee and Mayor McCartney, thank you for coming and enjoy your Memorial Day.